guys, it's Bea again, and today is the viewer voted video. It's going to be a little bit different today. Instead of taking an idea from the comments, I decided the idea myself, which is going to be fusions, but I asked people on Twitter and on DeviantArt to suggest the Pokemon that I would fuse, and then what I did is I put them through a random sorter thing that puts them in a list, and we're just going to go down the list and fuse them in pairs. As you can already see, I'm not using a face cam in this video. This is a change I decided to make. I don't think it's really necessary to put face cam parts in my videos for the most part, unless I think it's relevant. It's just honestly just extra work, and it doesn't really add anything to the video in my opinion. Plus it gets me all stressed out with trying to make sure my room's tidy and I look good and everything's good, so let's just scrap that so I can actually focus on making more artwork for you. Anyway, the first fusion we have is Mew and Surskit. What you'll probably notice right away here is that I'm doing this on lined paper instead of my usual nice paper. And the reason for that is because I finally got a light box. Yay me! It was only a tenner. I don't know why I spent so long not getting one. I've used it a couple times already, with some of my artwork that I haven't done for a video, just some other things. I finally decided to get one because I did this one picture of one of my Gardevoirs and one of my Gallades. It's like a mother and son picture and it was really cute. But it was just too far to the edge of the paper and I was really annoyed because I really liked the picture and I didn't really want to redraw it. So I finally was just like, alright, fine, we'll get a light box. But it's definitely worth it. I'll have to see how it turns out on the recording because for me to use the light box I have to turn off all the lights I usually use to make sure you can see everything clearly on the video. But you might still be able to see what I'm doing because of the light from the light box. I'll put it into this video, but if it's not worth keeping, then in future I won't bother putting it in. I'll just skip that part and go straight to the when it's inked. But I think I can still put the light box parts in. They're just a bit darker. They're not very long, so I don't think it'll be a problem. I'm also going to try and get some more transitions, as you'll see, rather than showing the entire process. I'm just going to sort of cut through parts because I think it will look better. I don't know. I'm just experimenting, okay? Don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun doing it, so yeah. Anyway, let's talk about this first fusion a bit. The first one, I didn't do a sketch before I started, like for the other three. I did a little like thumbnail sketch with just like some rough concept for it. For this one I just went straight in because I already had an idea and I knew what I wanted to do. So I went straight in with the idea of using Surskit's legs as like whiskers for Mew, so it was more cat-like. And then the little bit on its head, the yellow bit, was kind of like, because some cats have like an ear in a different colour or something. So I thought that looked cute. Probably a little bit too much like Mew and not really, I don't know if I fused it well enough, but I mean I did get all of Surskit's features in, so yeah, I just didn't really change Mew's body that much, but I didn't feel like it needed changing, so. I think it also doesn't help that by colouring it like a Surskit, it just kind of looks more like a shiny Mew, so it still looks a lot like Mew. But I think it works anyway, it's a good fusion, just a nice simple cute one to start us off. And I'm really pleased with it. I think it's adorable. So, yeah. Next up we had Skitty and Primarina. I knew I definitely wanted to do like a mermaid tail on this one, but then I used Skitty for like the main body. I was giving it a lot of Primarina's features obviously because I was using the Skitty as the main body, but then when it came to the eyes, I still wanted them to be closed like Skitty, but I did them closed like downwards rather than upwards like it is on Skitty. I think when they're like down, it looks like a more gentle expression, which is what I think of with Primarina, is like a more gentle Pokemon. So that's what we went with there. And since it was white on white because it has white eyelashes, I decided to just put a little bit of silver on there. I don't really use the silver pencil. I've got silver, gold, and copper. I don't really use them. I probably should. They're just a bit sparkly, so they look nice. I guess I just don't draw that many things that involve them, which is odd because I love drawing shinies and sparkly things and gems. Also for the ears, I wanted to keep them, but since Primarina doesn't have ears, but what does have ears is Poplio, I decided to make the ears like Poplio since it's the baby form of Primarina, so I put them like more on the sides and pointing down. I think that looks quite cute. Also keeps the ears out of the way of the little headdress thing she's got on. When it came to colouring the main body, I had thought of doing like the head in the same colour as Primarina's hair and then the body in the same colour as the tail. And I sort of did go with that, but I tried to keep them a lot closer to each other because Skitty is like one consistent colour for the body and head. So I just put more shading on the tail and the body, whereas the head I kept the shading a bit lighter. Because I used the same colours on both of them, I just varied how much of each colour I used. But I think that it looks good, it came out well. I'm really pleased with this fusion as well. This one's probably the prettiest. This is definitely one of those drawings where at first I was thinking it just doesn't look good, there's something wrong with it, but then by the time it was done, I was happy with it, so that's good. Next up was Lopunny and Lycanroc Midday. This actually was the last fusion I drew. I intended to get all of them done, but I left this one till the end because reasons. I think I just really wanted to do the last fusion, so I ended up leaving this one, but I still wanted to get them all done since there were, there were only 8 people who suggested things, so it felt fair to make sure that they all got done since it wasn't that many. I think this one does fuse really well, but I did have some trouble with it. I did a little test sketch and it looked fine, but then when I started drawing it out properly, I just found that because the face was so much less feminine, I felt, than a regular Lopunny, it just felt like it looked odd pairing that with the very feminine body. So, I had to sort of change it around a bit. After a while, I sort of erased the body and started again. And what I ended up doing was going for the idea of a pose that was a bit playful, but like less feminine. So trying to keep like the playful look of a Lopunny, but not so much the feminine look. Just try and keep it neutral, basically. I'm glad I did, because it looks a lot better, I think. One thing I still don't like is the eyebrows. They were supposed to be like those spike rocks that come out of Lycanroc, but for some reason I placed them entirely wrong. They're clearly not lined up correctly to be symmetrical on the face. Like, I know that the head is turned to the side, but I've done it as if it wasn't for some reason. This is what happens when you stay up really late working on these. Wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend working on artwork when you're actually awake. I think this is the part where I wish I'd done this one before, so I would have more motivation to get this one done. I don't know why I just didn't want to do this one for some reason, because I think it looks really good. I just didn't feel like doing it. But I'm really pleased with it anyway. I think quite a few of the proportions on it are a little bit wonky, but I think that's just to be expected when you work on things really late, when you're half asleep, and yeah. Don't really have much else to say about this one, so let's move on to the final one. The final one was Mudkip and Gardevoir. Now this one was just my favourite. It's so derpy. It just makes me feel happy. Oh, I love it. It took a little bit of messing around with colours to figure out how things were going to work in different shapes. Originally I thought I'd do it without the Gardevoir dress and just make it more like Mudkip, but then it just felt like a humanoid Mudkip, so that looked stupid. So I decided to add more Gardevoir features by putting the dress in again, and obviously making it out of the fins. Also, I found that Gardevoir's little ear things work really well with Mudkip's little face fins. They're perfect. They're like pretty much the same thing. So that worked well and that fused really good. I was basing the eyes more on Mudkip, but I ended up adding a little bit of orange to them just because I felt like they didn't look quite right. And I thought because of the colours, it was quite a bit like a shiny Gardevoir because of like oranges and blues, so I went with a bit of orange in the eyes as well. For all of these fusions, I was really working with trying to do more highlighting and more shadows, just because I think it suits my style better. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. It kind of looks a bit closer to the actual Pokemon style as well, which that's not what I'm going for. I'd like to have my own style, but it's interesting that it looks a bit closer to it. I've recently organised all my pencils, so it's a lot easier to figure out where all the colours are and figure out which colours are good to blend to make all the shadows and things. And of course I use my white pen for the highlights. I'm looking forward to trying to do these highlights and things in some of my other artwork, with some of my characters and things. But yeah, these were my fusions based on viewers' suggestions for the Pokemon. Let me know in the comments which one is your favourite, and also let me know if you have any ideas for what you would like me to do for the next viewer voted video. Pretty much anything Pokemon related. Also, I'll make sure to put all these on my TeePublic store so you can get them on mugs, maybe t-shirts, whatever I feel like putting them on. I did a poll on Twitter and asked people whether they would prefer the fusions to be separate or all together, and most people wanted them to be separate so that you can just pick your favourite one, which makes sense. So they'll all be separate, so you can collect all four, or you can just pick your favourite, or you can just buy none at all because no one's forcing you. But it'd be cool if you bought them. Tweet me if you do. I want to see pictures. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and always triple save.